Anytime you ban people coming to the United States from other countries, it has a real impact. But it is chiefly in service of trying to get us all talking about that, or talking about the Biden investigation they launched today, or instead of talking about the centerpiece of this story, which is this bill to make the rich even richer at the expense of everybody else.
Democratic Senator Chris Murphy of Connecticut putting into context a series of moves last night from President Trump. The president announced a travel ban to the U.S. for people from 12 countries and partial restrictions for 7 others. He also ordered an investigation into former President Biden and officials in the Biden administration for the use of the auto pen, a device Trump has himself admitted to using.
Robot president.
It all comes as...
#, robot president.
Yeah.
The things that are going out there now.
Continue to work through President Trump's massive tax and spending bill and its impact on millions of Americans. Meanwhile, Elon Musk ramps up his pressure campaign to kill the legislation, calling on Americans to contact their representatives in Congress. Plus, President Trump claims he spoke to Vladimir Putin for 75 minutes yesterday. We'll dig into the big headlines coming out of that conversation. Wow. Good morning and welcome to Morning Joe. It is Thursday, June 5th. A lot to get to this morning.
Yeah, Willie, a lot to get to. And Chris Murphy basically talking about what we've said for some time. In the second term, tried to separate the signal from the ground noise. The signal, obviously, all that everybody in Washington's focused on right now is Elon Musk. And how many Republicans he can take with him going against this massive pork barrel spending bill. So, we're talking about auto pens. We're talking about, I'm sure, robot presidents will come back into play pretty soon. It's but this is what Washington, D.C. is focused on right now. This bill, and whether it's in a lot more danger of passing the Senate because of Elon Musk.
Yeah, we'll get into the details of this new travel ban from 12 countries in a minute. The effects of that are very real on the people trying to immigrate to this country. But as Senator Murphy said, President Trump obviously throwing a lot against the wall in the hopes of distracting people from a bill that yesterday the CBO said will inflate the debt by $2.4 trillion over the next 10 years and increase by almost 11 million people the number who lose health care because of cuts to Medicaid and changes to the Affordable Care Act. So the impacts of this, if it is passed, are very real. And as you guys point out, Elon Musk now is, again, from a distance this time, from outside of Washington, a central player in all of this, Mika, because of the pressure he is putting on, saying, kill the bill, get rid of this thing. It's going to crush people on health care. It's going to crush people on the debt and drive this country into a ditch, effectively, is what he's saying. So now you have these members of Congress, including Speaker Johnson and senators, many of whom, by the way, their campaigns were bankrolled by Elon Musk in many ways, feeling pressure both from the White House and from the world's wealthiest man.
It's very convoluted, but Elon Musk is ramping up his criticism of President Trump's legislative agenda, calling on senators to kill the bill. In a series of social media posts yesterday, the Tesla CEO tried to rally Republicans against the legislation, urging voters to call their senators and congressmen, writing, quote, bankrupting America is not okay. Musk also suggested drafting a new bill that won't add to the national debt. The comments mark what appears to be an escalation in the rift between Musk and the Trump administration. One senior White House official telling NBC News President Trump is now considering how and when to respond, adding he was, quote, caught off guard but not entirely surprised by Musk's opposition. Meanwhile, House Speaker Mike Johnson had this to say.
Elon and I left on a great note. We were texting one another, happy texts, Monday. And then yesterday, 24 hours later, he does a 180 and he comes out and opposes the bill. And it surprised me, frankly. I think he's flat wrong. I think he's way off on this, and I've told him as much, and I've said it publicly and privately. I'm very consistent in that. But am I concerned about the effect of this on the midterms? I'm not. Let me tell you why. Because when the big, beautiful bill is done and signed into law, every single American is going to do better.
Oh, my God.
I'm not sure. Is every American going to do better? And what about Elon?
I guess that's what speakers have to do. I don't know. They have to put together big, horrible bill. pork barrel bill. I mean, let me just be really clear here. This bill would never pass. When we served and we balanced the budget 4 years in a row, and actually ran a budget surplus for 2 years. Part of the reason why is these huge, massive bills never went through. Because what happens is when you have leadership working with the White House, any leadership, and they try to jam everything into one bill, there's so much in there that you're going to be shocked. We've seen it from everybody from Marjorie Taylor Greene being shocked that the AI forces basically were out and the lobbyists got it. So no states can do anything, can touch AI or regulate it at all for like a decade or so. And you have other people seeing pork barrel spending bills in there. We have a $37 trillion debt. And as Willie said, this adds $2.4 trillion more dollars to a debt that's going to already grow by $20 trillion over the next decade. That's unsustainable. That's going to lead to a fiscal meltdown. Jamie Dimon is right. That's going to lead to a bond meltdown. This isn't even a close call. This has nothing to do with politics. Nothing to do with politics. This is just pure, simple math. And it's as if these House Republicans who claim to be conservative, it's as if these House Republicans, they see a house on fire and they run to it. A $37 trillion debt. They run to it and they throw trillions of gallons of gasoline on the fire to have it explode. Specifically, $2.4 trillion worth of debt added on. No ideology. This is black and white. By the way, this is something that Democrats, my Democratic friends and Republican friends need to understand. The game is over. The gig is up. You can't keep kicking the can down the road. But that's exactly what this bill does. We can't afford it anymore. And we especially can't afford it, Willie, as you said. Adds $2.4 trillion to the debt, going to take 10, 11 million people off of insurance. So much of that is going to be gutting rural health care. When you gut Medicaid, you gut rural health care. So this is how bizarre things have gotten in Washington, D.C. Think about it. You have House Republicans who claim to be for the working man. House Republicans are going to gut rural health care to give tax cuts to the richest billionaires in Silicon Valley and Wall Street. Let me say that again, because nobody's doubting this. Everybody knows this. You talk to rural hospitals, you talk to any healthcare provider in rural America, they will tell you this bill will gut rural healthcare in the reddest of the red states. And for what? So billionaires in Silicon Valley, people running monopolies in Silicon Valley, and billionaires on Wall Street, hedge funders, so they can get even more tax cuts. The rich can get richer, and the poor just lose their health care, Willie. I'm sorry. I don't know where Mike Johnson thinks his members are going to be running over the next 2 years, but they're going to be running in red state America, where they're going to be a lot of people who are going to be hurt by this bill. They can call it a big, beautiful bill all they want to, but the fact is, this is a type of bill no conservative would ever vote for, ever. It's reckless, it's irresponsible, and it's a fiscal nightmare.
And people who've built their careers on being fiscal conservatives, on saying that we've got to shrink the size of government, and yet here you have $2.4 trillion. Republicans saying there are $1.3 trillion of cuts in this package over a decade. True, but there are also $3.7 trillion in lost revenue because of the tax cuts, as you just pointed out.